Hi there, welcome back. How are you? So in this video, I thought I'd let you know that tomorrow I'll be going into hospital. I was meant to have a live stream today, but I'm waiting on the call from the hospital for all the details on, what I need to do to prepare for tomorrow. The reason I wanted to create this video was because so many of us have it in our head, that we need to heal ourselves a certain way, that healing looks a certain way, And for me, that's always the ego. The ego will try to trick you into all these ways of, oh, you should be able to heal yourself, because we've heard of so many people, that have healed themselves. The doctors say we can't do anything for you, and they go home and they figure out a way, of how to. For me, it's all there for us. If we need a doctor to do it, then so be it. For me, whichever way works is fine. I've watched both of my parents, with heart problems, and they've had operations, and doctors have, assisted them in correcting, because many times, as I've said before, we spend years and years and years putting all this tension into our bodies, all this pressure, and sometimes, the body needs that assistance, that medical assistance. So I know that throughout all of my website and in every single one of my courses, and even in my books, there's always a quote. There's always a little excerpt. Hang on, I'll read it here. I can find that part about the... Oh, does this one not have it? It has to have it. The author of this book does not dispense... This is... I am dark in case you missed it when I grabbed it off the shelf. The author of this book does not dispense medical advice or prescribe the use of any technique as a form of treatment for physical, emotional, or medical problems without the advice of a physician, either directly or indirectly. The intent of the author is only to offer information of a general nature to help you in your quest for emotional and spiritual well-being. I'm not a doctor. And so, the doctor is there to assist with the physical body. When your car is broken down, what do you do with your car? Do you sit there and pray that it fixes itself, that somehow, by some miracle, you'll be able to get it up and running again without any assistance? No, when the car breaks down, we take it to a mechanic. And the same happens with our physical bodies. When they break down, when parts of our physical body no longer works or functions the way it needs to, for you to, be healthy, for you to be able to move forward in this life, you need this vessel to work optimally. And when it doesn't, that's what the doctor is for. Now, I know for a lot of people, because I've been working with seniors, elderly, I'm not sure what the correct term is for people over the age of 70, I guess, is what I'm trying to talk about. With these beautiful people, I've seen when they have dementia, when they have Parkinson, when they have different types of diseases that don't have a cure. There's nothing that the doctors can do. I mean, they do the best that they can. As I've been observing the people that I take care of, the medication that they give them, they do the best they can to assist them on their journey, but there's no cure for it. But for many things, the doctors can assist, they can fix what's taken us decades, to create within our bodies. And so I know with Mum and Dad, they've both had heart operations, and they've come out and they're fine. My dad's heart operation was over 40 years ago, and he's still going. And my mum had arrhythmia in her early 50s, and she's still going, thanks to the doctors and their assistance, with what she's been through. So, for me, healing, it doesn't matter how it comes. You know, for me, it's about using everything we have at our fingertips. If it's a doctor, then it's a doctor. If it's a specialist, then it's a specialist. And if none of that works, then find alternative ways, you know, to fix whatever it is that needs fixing. For me, it's not a question of there's anything physically wrong at the moment. What I have is on my head. That's why I'm so lucky I've got so much hair. I've got these huge cysts. My dad had them as well. I remember I was 10 years old. He had them all over his head, bless his heart. He had about 5 or 6 of them. And he had to have them removed. But I think he had them removed much earlier than what I've left mine too late, I think, because I actually have to have them surgically removed now. They're too big. I have quite a few over my head. So I need to go in tomorrow and the doctor's going to remove them. They're not cancerous, and that's why it wasn't urgent. I've been waiting for over a year to go in, you know, and even my daughter was saying to me yesterday, well, can't you just, you know, call in your team and somehow dissolve them? She was saying to me, you know, can't you like spiritually dissolve them? And I thought, well, I've had them for a while now. And, you know, as much as I think dissolve, you know, honestly, I don't spend that much time on it. To me, it doesn't bother me. The only reason I'm getting them removed is because they're so large that they've become uncomfortable. There's pressure underneath them. And I feel that throughout the day. And sometimes they wake me up at night, you know, the pressure within these huge bumps that I've got on my head. This one on the front, you know, when the first time my daughter discovered that one, she said to me, Mummy, you're turning into a unicorn. And some of the kids at school, when I do the piano lessons, that's what they say to me. You're turning into a unicorn, because it's right at the front. You know, this huge lump. I'm turning into a unicorn. And I just love that so much, you know. So for me, it's really about just being comfortable again, you know. I'm just taking them out because they're uncomfortable, you know. They feel like a bruise. You know, when you have a bruise and someone presses on it and it's like, oh, but without someone pressing on it, I feel the bruise all the time on my head. I've got a few on my head and I've got one on my back that they're taking out. So that's tomorrow. And today they're meant to call me somewhere between 12 and 4 to give me all the instructions about tomorrow. So I didn't want to risk being in the middle of the live stream and they're calling and I wouldn't know how to. And I don't know if the phone call will come through if I'm in the middle of a live on YouTube. I don't know how that works either. And I didn't want to risk it. I've been waiting for a year to have this procedure done, to have these removed so that I can move on, you know, with my life. I think the fear of the pain of them is what stopped me from going earlier. Because I know with Dad, he just went into the doctor and he just had them physically removed in that moment. I think they just put anesthetic in that one spot. But mine is so big that I have to go under, you know, general anesthetic now to have it done. But I'm not worried, you know, because I feel, well, that's what the doctor's there for, you know. I'm not meant to heal all of it. That's just my ego. When the ego gets in the way of, oh, it needs to look this way or it needs to look that way. I'm like, no, it bothers me. I want it out, you know. I want to be comfortable. Whatever time I've got left, I want to be comfortable, you know. And unfortunately for me and my mind, my brain is always working on what's next for you. What can I do next for you? You know, this is my path, my purpose is what to bring next. And so my mind isn't occupied on what's going on with my body, on what's happening with my body. I do know, you know, that with time, I remember once hearing Neil Donald Walsh was talking about he'd had heart surgery, quadruple pass, or I forget what he said he had. It was more than a quadruple pass. But there again, I remember thinking the same thing. You know, it's a whole lifetime of putting this body under duress, you know, in tension all the time because of our thoughts, because of the way we're looking at the world from this separate eye. And this poor body tries to move on, even though we're putting it under all this pressure. And eventually it snaps, just like the car. You know, if you don't take care of your car when you're driving it, you know, and you're always putting in the cheap petrol and you're not, you know, you're just running it into the ground every time and you treat it with disregard, like you don't care. Eventually it'll break down if you don't take care of it. Your car, your body's the same, you know. So, however you need healing, it doesn't matter how it comes, it doesn't matter how it looks to me, you know. If it's through a doctor, it's through a doctor. If they can help, great. You know, I've been in hospital, I think 3 times with my gallbladder problem, with my digestive problem, and they've assisted. They can't heal it. I mean, what they suggested the first time was for me to have my gallbladder removed. And I followed their advice against my naturopath's advice, because her advice was that I didn't need to have it removed. She could help me remove the stones that were in there. But at the time, the doctor that I spoke to, the specialist, she filled me with fear that these stones will keep coming, it will keep recurring, and that once the gallbladder stops working, that's it. It's like it dies and just sits in there and doesn't work anymore. So this was the vision I was given of my gallbladder, that it's just this dead organ inside of me now. So I didn't see the point of keeping it. You know, this was 12 years ago now, and at the time I had just given birth to my daughter. She was 3 months old when I had my gallbladder attack, and to me that was more important than my gallbladder, you know, getting back home and being there for her. So I made that decision. You know, I chose the doctor and I said, okay, take it out. And my naturopath, when I went back to her, was like, no, why? What did you do? But it's what you believe at the time. It's your belief that creates the reality, you know. If I was going to sit there and keep worrying that this gallbladder was going to be the death of me and I was going to leave my daughter behind because, you know, it was toxic inside my body now. It wasn't doing anything. It was a dead organ, you know, according to my doctor. And that this could happen at any time, and I could have gallbladder attacks at any time now because it was just not functioning anymore. So I thought, well, to me, that wasn't worth the risk. If I could live without it, like my appendix. The appendix was taken out when I was 11, and I've lived without it fine all these years. You know, I knew that I could live without the gallbladder because my mum had hers taken out when she was about 40. And she was still going. So I thought, well, I can live without that. To me, it wasn't worth leaving my daughter behind without a mum. You know, that was more important. So my beautiful beings, I apologize today that I'm not there for the live. For those of you that were keen to catch up today, I will try on Friday. I will see how I go after the procedure. I'm usually pretty groggy after the, you know, general anesthetic, but if I'm feeling up to it on Friday, I'll be here. So I thought I'd put this one up today while I've got time, and just to let you know what's happening, where I'm at. You know, do everything you can for your physical body. If it's giving you all these symptoms, all these signs that it's not happy, that there's something going on inside, see the doctor. That's what they're there for. See the doctor. Get help. You know, and then if the doctor says, like with my beautiful lady that had Parkinson, there's nothing we can do, then find other ways to ease what's going on in your body. You know, but don't dismiss one thing over the other. Use everything that's at your fingertips to take care of this physical body that you've been given to move around in this world, you know. Do what you can. if it feels right. You know, I always remember my mum saying she'd go to a doctor. My dad, when he had his first heart attack, he'd been to 3 different doctors, and they all kept telling him that it was a digestive problem, because it felt like heartburn in the middle of his chest, you know, at the top of the digestive system. It was this incredible heartburn that he was experiencing. And it wasn't until the 4th doctor, a different doctor, that by chance my mum said, look, let's just try this one. And he sent him to a specialist straight away. He said, no, you have a heart condition. And he had to have a heart operation straight away when they found him, you know, that doctor. So if you feel you're visiting a doctor and it doesn't feel right, then look for another one. You feel it in your gut when it's the right doctor and when it's not. My poor husband for years and years and years suffered with this sinus issue, you know. He'd broken his nose when he was young and early teens, in his teenage years. And it was never corrected, you know, at the time. It wasn't corrected properly, even though the doctors looked at it. And so he'd go to doctors in his adult years, you know, when I was with him. So many doctors, and all they'd give him is things for sinuses, you know, or antibiotics. They'd send him home with antibiotics. Until one day he went to the doctor at the top of the street, the lovely female doctor that was a gynecologist. But she was sitting in for her husband that day. That was the general GP, you know, the general doctor. And she sent him to a specialist. But this was years and years later, after seeing so many doctors, and all they did was send him home with antibiotics. Years, I'd say at least 10 years I'd been watching him go to doctors and doctors and doctors. And she sent him to a specialist, and he had an operation done, and it was fixed. You know? So feel into your gut when you visit a doctor. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Look for another doctor. There are so many of them, you know. I know when I went to see this specialist that's going to remove the lumps on my head and the one in my back, I knew straight away, just his energy. When I spoke to him, I just fell in love with him. I'm like, you're it. I was really scared before, but you're it. I'm comfortable with you, you know. There was just something about him that I knew it was going to be okay with him. You know, the same with the beautiful nurses that took care of us when I was pregnant with my daughter. I knew. I met the team and I was like, I knew straight away. That was the team for me. So my beautiful beings, don't dismiss one thing over another, thinking that there's only one way for the body to be, you know, healed. All of these things are there for you. Use all of them. Use all of them. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. Just do what feels right for you, regardless of what other people say. You know? If you feel that this is the way, that this is right, then do that. I was just watching that beautiful series, Apple Cider Vinegar. The young girl at the beginning, Millie, or I forget, I think her name was Millie, was so scared of having her arm cut off because she had cancer in it, that a few short years later she ended up dying from cancer because it spread. She was too afraid to live without that arm. But you are spirit in human form. You are not your arm. You are not your leg. You are not your physical body. It's just here to get you around. So do what you need to do to be comfortable in this body, whatever that looks like. All right, my beautiful beings. I love you dearly. I know, in her case, that's what she was meant to go through. That was her experience, what she was meant to experience, all of it. And I know she's okay. It's not right, it's not wrong. It was just what she chose. You know? It's just life. It's what the soul came to experience. All right, my beautiful beings, I'll be thinking of you tomorrow. I'll be thinking of all of you, praying that you're all well, wherever you are in the world, that you're taking care of yourself. You're getting what you need for yourself. Get the help you need, whatever that looks like. Not just the physical, the doctors, but for anything. This is your life. Right, my beautiful beings. There's something else coming through, but it's for another video. We'll do it in the next one. I love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye for now.